pass them down.
Yes.
Oh, it's not enough for me.
All right, we're going to go ahead and call our special meeting to order. If we could have a roll call, this would be September 18th, our 6:30 meeting. Have a roll call, please.
Here.
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 Here. All right. We're going to switch the order here. For the first item, I'd like to do the appointment of acting clerk, as we found and through the advice of our legal that we needed to have this housekeeping done sooner than later. So that recommendation is probably one of the primary reasons that we called this meeting. But with that, there's a draft motion. I think. Sure, absolutely.
Pursuant to Article 3, Section 116 of the Haymarket Town Charter, I move the Haymarket Town Council appoint Christopher Kuhn as the acting clerk of the council.
I'll second the motion.
Motion seconded by Councilman Leak. A discussion on the motion. Seeing none, we have a roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Okay. Our next item is the appointment of the town council liaison to the ARB. At this time, I'd like to go and ask the attorney for the proper wording to go into executive session for
Why?
that discussion.
Do we have to go into executive session? Can't we have a discussion?
Go ahead.
So you can have a discussion about the appointment of the town council liaison in closed session or in open session. That's the prerogative of the council. From discussions with the mayor earlier, that was, we were preparing for a closed session discussion so we could discuss that frankly and come back out and have a united front. But I don't know if that's something that the council wishes to do.
All right, so we'll take that and find out if the council would like to go into executive session for this discussion. We'll start to my right here. Mr. Shannon.
I'm comfortable in open session.
Okay. Councilman Leak.
I'm good with both.
I'm
Councilman
glad
Putnam?
about
Okay,
Open.
Either one.
okay. Well, it looks like we do have a consensus then to do that. All right. So with that, we have an appointment of the, that we're having a discussion of people that we're considering to be the liaison. I believe, from my understanding, that everyone received either a message or a text from at least one or two people that are interested in that. With that, I'll look to Vice Mayor. I didn't receive anything, so I heard that you had sent out to others.
Just letting people know that after Connor, I wasn't going to say anything until we came to the meeting, but when I received the text from Connor, I just wanted the other members to know that I was definitely interested, that I have a long history with the ARB, very interested. I've worked on lots of projects in the town and successfully worked through challenging issues with builders and developers, and the only reason that I gave up the liaison was because when Ms. Cavazos was elected, she was so adamant that she wanted to do it. So I felt like, since I was chosen as vice mayor, that I would give her the chance to do that.
Okay, so probably what we'll do is we'll let the two people speak, and then we'll ask questions, because, go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you, Mayor. So I prayed about it, and I was thinking over the last week, and I felt like I wanted to go ahead and serve on the ARB. I served as the Planning Commission's liaison to the ARB from roughly August of 15, I believe it was, through 17 of August or September. Mr. Weir was the chairman of the Planning Commission at that time, and we all were talking about it, and I felt that it was a great opportunity to serve on both boards. From there, I know that there's sometimes misconceptions, and sometimes folks feel that the ARB has a tough job, as which they do. protecting the historic future of the town. I know that possibly the ARB may have some hard feelings or misfeelings of confusion due to some of our appeals that have come in front of the town council. So one of my big things that I would want to work on is to repair any of these misfeelings that the ARB may have towards council, or maybe some misunderstandings, whatever it may be. The other thing that I would want to do is I would want to improve the communication. I think Ms. Cavazos did a great job, but I would want to improve any communication or lack thereof that the ARB has with the town council. One of the big ways that I would go about doing this is I would sit down with each member on the ARB, as well as the Planning Commission's liaison to the ARB, and to see what type of things that they want to accomplish on the ARB from their side of things. After being able to sit down and seeing what a common consensus is of the group, or maybe they're all individual wants and needs, I would then see how we could work on that with the town council. Two big things that I know that are in front of, or excuse me, three big things that are in front of the ARB, as well as when I was on there, that I want to work on and move forward with is finding funding for the gateway signs. I'd want to work with the Finance Committee to see how in the future budgets we could be able to properly appropriate to get some of that funding. Now, knowing these signs are extremely expensive, maybe we'd have to phase it out. That would be one of my top priorities. Outside of that, I'd also want to go ahead and work on the PC bylaws as well as the guidelines that they're currently working on, and ensuring that we can bring those up to date with our current zoning ordinance. As we may know, some of their guidelines are a little out of date from what our ordinance is. I would approach each of our COAs that come in front of the board, as I do with all ordinances, special use permits, action items that come in front of the town council. I'd approach each one of them based off their merits. I'd look at each COA based off of what our current ordinances and guidelines are, to ensure that we are acting within the bounds and means that we can, as well as making sure that we're just looking at these decisions based off the merits, trying to keep any personal feelings out of them, but making sure that we're looking at the guidelines. My take on something is, if we disagree and we don't like how it is, then we need to change the guidelines. We shouldn't take anything out on a COA application. We should then change what the law is, or what an ordinance is, to be able to better overcome, or what our thought of our opinion should be on a COA. I understand the importance of the sport, especially with protecting our historic future. One of the things that I'd want to do while helping set up these guidelines is making sure that new developments that come into the town, whether they be commercial or residential, would be something that our grandchildren or great-grandchildren would be able to look back on and say that they were proud of, or grandma or grandpa was a part of that. They were able to set great guidelines. A lot of times we're here to preserve our history, but we're also here to design our future. And to design our future, we need to have great guidelines to be able to go forward and move forward in a positive direction that we can all look back at in the near future and be proud of. So that's why I'm interested, and I would like to serve as the council's liaison to the ARB.
Okay. Questions, I think probably appropriate. I know I have questions, and maybe I'll start it out with, and I'd like to ask both applicants, is knowing that there is a strained relationship, or a perceived strained relationship, and I think as you commented during your council time at our last meeting, what would you do to try to improve that, knowing that, what would you do to try to improve that, and supporting the council?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I would work with both the ARB and the council, and maybe have a sit-down work session, so we could, together share what the vision is and how we're going to work through getting these guidelines updated. And it's important for us all not to have exactly the same vision, but be moving in the same direction, and not take everything as a personal attack on the other person. We really need to learn to have a more open communication and thoughtful exchange between the two.
Okay. I'd ask Councilman Leak as well.
Thank you, Mayor. As I stated earlier, I would want to sit down with each member individually to be able to understand exactly what they're looking to accomplish on the ARB board, whether they're looking there to just be a recommendation or if they have items that they're wanting to accomplish while serving, while serving their term on the ARB as an appointed position. I do have I've previously worked with the chairman of the ARB, Chairman Lorson. He was the chairman when I was on the ARB, when I served as liaison. And then also I've worked with Marchant when he was our town planner. From there, Ms. Juliet, I know personally from being a neighbor and growing up next to her for many years. And unfortunately, I don't know the other gentleman who's the Planning Commission liaison, but I would look to move forward and get to know him better and be able to find out what everyone's wants and needs are to be able to bring those in front of the council.
Okay. My next question is about, would be the ARC when we censored them for the inappropriate comments that were made. I just wanted to expand on that to understand both perspectives of were you in favor of that censorship and the actions that were taken by the council?
I mean, you can see the voting record. My answer is no. It's on the record that I voted no.
And that's what I'm looking for, to expand on that. You felt that the
Because
council...
I thought it was an overreaction, and I thought things were taken way out of context, and there were other ways that it could have been handled without going to that extreme. That was my opinion.
Okay. Councilman Leak?
Yes, sir. As the voting record stated, I did vote in favor of the censorship. Looking at that, I based my decision based off of reviewing the tape of that meeting. Looking at that, seeing liability that was placed upon the town due to certain comments that were made, I wanted to ensure that we were able to look at that liability, weigh that liability out, and understand that those actions are not called for or not acceptable. As any of us on the council, if any of us were to do that, I think the same action should be taken for the mere fact that those are inappropriate actions to have. And from that, I voted in favor of the censorship as well as the training.
Okay. Questions that other council members have? We'll start with my left here. Mr. Day, do you have any questions or comments that...
I have comments.
All right.
No questions.
Okay.
I just want to say a couple things. Number one, I have the utmost respect. I served with both Connor Leak and Susan Edwards on the ARB, and it is my opinion that both are fully capable and of doing the job very well. So I have the utmost confidence in both people, and but on the the ARB censorship, I just want to say that is my opinion. I voted for it, and it is my opinion that was actually the lowest, kindest. I mean, maybe I'm trying to find a word here, but that was the least that could be done, and otherwise it would have been, the least would have been, beyond that would have been nothing. And considering the circumstances and what was on the recorded on the video, I believe that was is as kind and gentle as it could be without doing nothing. And if hopefully that has not strained any relationships with the ARB. I hope that is the case, but I hope that that at least there's been some education that came from it, which we did. We provided training.
Okay.
So those are my comments.
All right. Councilman Panthy.
We are a very little small town. We need to work together. ARB, Planning Commission, of course, we have to follow the rules and regulation and, our CIP plan. Both they are qualified candidate for the liaison council and ARB. Yes, I did vote for the training and censorship too, because we have to have some guideline, and we have to have something that move to the right direction. If we keep doing those kind of mistake, it will, we will get in trouble. That's why I did vote for yes. That's why from my thing is just a small town. Let's work together, make town better. No personal attack. Comments.
Okay. You're up, sir.
I spoke with both, and I'm glad they reached out. I think I first spoke with Connor, and then I spoke with Susan, and I appreciated them reaching out. It was a one-on-one, nothing illegal about it. To me, it was the right thing to do, because this is a big deal. Let me just say a couple things. I certainly voted in favor of the censorship. I think comments that were made were not mean-spirited. I don't think they were meant. But the town attorney at the time said that the applicant could, that the town could be held liable. So that's why I voted in favor of it. I agree with Councilman Day. It was the least amount of action that could have been taken, other than nothing at all. The training, I've let it be known, I was not happy that the chairman did not show up for the training. He was the only one that didn't show up. Some of the council, we showed up and we didn't have to, but I felt it was a thing to do. It's called teamwork. I have the utmost respect for the mission of the ARB. It's a very important, I've stated that 2 meetings ago when an attorney, I felt, I may have misunderstood, but I felt said some things contrary to what I feel about our ARB, because I do have the most respect for him. I do have, both candidates can do it and do it well. I've expressed my concerns of a couple of things to both candidates, and feel both could do it. I pretty much let my feelings be known which way I was going to lean, so I'll leave it at that.
Can I just respond to something?
No, absolutely.
I would just like to clarify that the reason I voted no for the motion, I was in favor of the training, just not the censorship. So I just want to make that clear to everyone who's listening. I was in favor of the training, just not censorship.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was just trying to expand on, just to
Yeah.
understand why you didn't think the censorship was, because it seemed like there was a split, not a split vote, but what was it?
Mr. Mayor, can I make one more comment, just, and I wrote down, the goal should be, we are one team. The ARB Planning Commission, this council, we represent, even though we're elected, they're not, they're appointed. They're appointed because we have trust and faith in them, and we believe they have the integrity to carry out their mission. None of that has diminished, in my opinion. I believe each and every one of them have that integrity to carry it out. I just want to see us working together and not have an adversarial relationship, and right now, there is. I don't care what who says. In my opinion, there is, and it needs to stop. I truly believe that both candidates can work with them because they're good people. They're good citizens. They care about what goes, they're passionate about what goes on in this town. So ultimately, I want to see us working together as a team, of which we're not doing right now.
Right, so, and that, you bring up a good point, too. So you have two bodies, the ARB and the Planning Commission, that are recommending bodies. And I think sometimes that water gets a little murky, where you have maybe a decision that's either in favor or against something, but yet comes to this body to then reevaluate that decision. And we've seen where those decisions might not be in lockstep, where you either have a recommendation for something and then and it doesn't mean that we didn't respect that decision that they came up with, but when it comes up for our decision, it could go the same way or it could go differently. But that difference should not be to the point where that we weren't respectful of their decision as they came up with it. The decision for our elected body should be that the decision of this council was the one that what follows.
I agree, and I covered, so I'm covering the same thing I covered with both Connor and Susan. Ultimately, comment was made that we're lockstep with the mayor. That is false. I have voted
Furthest
against
thing from
things
being
you
true.
voted for.
Yeah.
Connor has voted against things you have voted for. There's no lockstep, in my opinion. However, and I lost my chain of thought, but,
I could maybe dovetail on that. Let's give it an example when we.
I'm sorry. What I was going to say is, ultimately, I'll go back to the funeral home.
That's
as
where
an
I was gonna
example.
go.
I was adamantly opposed. I got my feelings hurt to the point where I thought, you know what, if this is going to be the way it is, I'm going to resign. I don't need this. It took my bride to really understand that I was voted in with 129 of our constituents and said, why are you letting them down? You're not going to win every time. And that's true. Ultimately, we're going to vote up here. And whether it be the ARB and the Planning Commission, either or both, ultimately, we're going to make a decision, and we don't have to like the decision, but we should support it. If we can't support it, we should not be serving.
Exactly.
So that, I learned my lesson quickly. I even talked to you about that, about my concern about the veto, and came back later and said, I may not agree, but I support because that's how the body voted. And that's what we should do. Both boards, the Planning Commission, ARB, and the Town Council. Once the decision's made, it ought to be supported.
Right.
Maybe
So-
not agreed with, but supported.
And I just wanted further, for the people that are listening that might not know the statistics on that. So this decision came from the Planning Commission, I believe, on a 4-1 approval to allow the SUP for this funeral home.
Right.
It then came to the Town Council with a 4-2 vote approved. So it was a done deal. But for the listening audience that doesn't know, I do have that veto power, which then hits the reset button, which I did in that case. I vetoed that decision, and the veto held still with a 4-2 vote, and the funeral home did not come in, and Dr. Moon now is the resident of this.
And that's my point. I disagreed, but I supported it, and I'm personally extremely happy with where we're at now.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
just want to clarify.
Any other thoughts or questions before I open the floor?
I just want to say that, again, there's, to the best of my knowledge, and I can say this with confidence, I believe, that there is no animosity or tension coming from the town council towards the ARB in any way. I fully respect the ARB and their decisions, and I believe, again, as serving on the ARB, I think it is a very important, function, and I respect everybody's opinion and decisions there. But I just want to say that, from everything that I've seen, have heard, and observed, there is no tension coming from or anything from the town council towards the ARB in any way that I'm aware of. I fully, support the ARB, and, I hope that the ARB feels the same way towards the town council.
Okay. All right, so for procedure-wise, it's basically I open the floor for nominations. So at this time, I'll open the floor for nominations.
Mr. Mayor, with all due respect to my fellow councilman and my friend Connor Leak, I will nominate Vice Mayor Susan Edwards to be the liaison for the ARB.
Okay. We have one nomination.
I will nominate Connor Leak to the ARB.
Okay. We have two. Any nominations for Mr. Dave to be on the
No, thank you, sir.
Able to nominate, right? All right, so with that, seeing no further nominations, we'll close the nominations, and if I'm not mistaken, we will take a roll call vote on the first nomination, which would be, this would be to nominate Susan, or Vice Mayor Edwards, to be the ARB liaison,
To appoint her.
to appoint her as the liaison for the remaining term of June 30th of 2020.
Mayor, it might be
Sure.
helpful for me just to remind everybody, including the listening audience, that the nominations are voted on in the order that they were made, and the first person to get a majority vote wins the position.
Correct, yep. So with that, we'll ask for a roll call vote.
Yes.
We're a united front, yes.
Panthy,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Day.
Yes.
All right,
Thank you, Connor.
wonderful. Okay, the only other order of business is I had, and I think I've got it in the back office there, but a posting for, as we know, the council vacancy that in the past, as I pulled up emails from the 2015, 2017, it looks like we advertised on our website and tried to get the word out about the vacancy, and with no objection, I'm going to put that posting out there to advertise, and then we will look at the applicants and deal with this at our next council meeting.
Say that
Sure.
again, for what are we talking about?
The vacancy for council member.
Okay,
So we're
thank you.
advertising. Oh, do you have that?
I
Oh,
heard
wonderful.
vacancy, and I was thinking town clerk, but I was like,
Yes.
you already
Yeah, we
advertised
Yeah, we already did
that.
that. So give you a chance to read that real quick, and so we can get more copies.
And where are you going to advertise this?
We've done it in the website before.
Okay.
The town,
On the front? Is there any way we can get it pretty,
yeah, that's what we,
like on the bottom where the,
put it on the front page.
okay.
Yep.
Do you want to pass that so they can see it?
Yeah. Basically, also gives the legal requirements for this appointment, as I think both of you were appointed, if I'm not.
I was appointed when
At one point,
Vice
yeah.
Mayor
You
Aiken
were
had to
first.
step down.
And
Pam
I was for
Swinford.
Pam Swinford.
Yes,
She had to
exactly.
step down.
Yep. So, running right on time here, so, yeah, there will be.
With this-
All right, well, great. So there's no objection. We're going to go ahead and have Chris advertise that, and then we'll
Motion
be,
to adjourn?
yep, and we're ready.
We need a second.
Second, Councilman Shannon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Do you guys want a copy of this for your?
Yep. Yep, sorry, yeah. I just-
Thank you, Connor.
That's right.